So it may seem obvious why we spend so much time to make sure that these alignments are absolutely perfect. The two biggies are, of course, we want these vehicles to be handling at their absolute best when we're driving them down the street, around corners, or off-road. But the other really important reason that we are so particular with alignments is because we want to make sure that tire wear stays consistent. Of course, tires are expensive and nobody wants to prematurely wear through tires because of an alignment issue. So we recommend aligning your vehicle if you're doing a lot of off-road use, probably twice a year. Standard driving, maybe get it done once a year, like with inspection time. So it's really, really important. These tires are awesome. We also recommend doing frequent tire rotation. That gets every single tire in a different position on your vehicle. Believe it or not, tires wear differently in different locations on your Jeep. So if you've got 5 tires, it's always a good idea to give one a break and rotate it in every 5,000 miles. When we get a vehicle on our alignment rack, there's usually about 4 items that we're checking. The first is toe, the second is caster, third is camber, and the last is axle offset. Once we get this thing on the ground and on the rack, we're gonna talk a little bit more in depth about exactly why those are important, why we measure them, and how we adjust them. While we've got this thing up in the air, we're gonna talk a little bit about what is included in this kit and why it's important. Metal Cloak essentially makes 2 different kits for the JK that still retain the factory control arm lengths. They make the Game Changer and the Dual Rate kit. Again, both available in a 2.5 and 3.5 inch kit. This kit is their true dual rate kit, and I like this kit. We use it all the time. It is their least expensive kit, and it's a really nice option if you're not wheeling this thing every single weekend on hard, nasty trails, or if you've got a little bit lower budget and you want a suspension that can grow with you as you get into this sport. I like this kit because it includes upper control arms. These are adjustable, meaning that we can make them longer or shorter. That's important because we use these control arms to adjust caster. And like I said before, we're gonna talk about the specifics and nitty-gritty of alignment specs once we get this thing on the rack. So we've got adjustable upper control arms for caster. The Game Changer kit includes all of the control arms. The Dual Rate kit includes uppers there to get caster right. It also includes this bar here. This is the track bar. The track bar is installed to keep the whole front axle assembly centered under the vehicle, and it is absolutely pivotal when talking about steering, because with this track bar, the steering wants to just push your axle all over the place. So it's an essential part there. Again, this one is adjustable, and with that bar, we can get this thing set up so that the front axle is perfectly centered under the Jeep. The back of this kit is a little bit simpler than the front. There are no control arms that are included in this kit because it's not necessary. Of course, we're not making any alignment changes in the back. All that's happening in the front. And it doesn't really matter for this style drive shaft where these are set at. So they're gonna work, I don't wanna say it doesn't matter, but at this lift height, this will work fine with the current drive shaft. If we look back here from the back, you can see that there is also a track bar back here. This is the factory track bar. And what we do is install this bracket from Metal Cloak to relocate it from its OEM location right there up higher. To compare to the JK we had in earlier, we've got a JL in the shop today, and we're installing the Metal Cloak Game Changer 2.5 inch kit. Now the JK and the JL are pretty similar. Most of the control arm geometry and that kind of stuff, as you can see when compared to the JK, is strikingly similar. As you can see, it has a very similar design with an upper control arm, lower control arm, their outboard shocks. One thing that's unique about this particular kit is, in the Game Changer specifically, is that it comes with upper control arms and lower control arms. It comes with adjustable track bars, front and rear. So if you've got a little bit more budget to spend, or you're gonna be doing a lot of off-road wheeling, the game changer kit may be for you. I really like the adjustable control arms because not only does it let us get caster dialed in perfectly with the upper control arms, but we can also set the wheelbase length perfectly to exactly where it needs to be. Some of the major differences between the JL and the JK kits are the front sway bar. As you can see, the disconnect is longer on one side when compared to the other side. If your Jeep is a Rubicon, it's not gonna have a disconnect. This is gonna be a solid link, and the disconnect is actually gonna be in the sway bar itself. The steering is a little bit different in a JL and JK. Metal Cloak sells this separately. It's not included in their kit, but it relocates their steering stabilizer up above the tie rod because from factory, it bolts into this little spot here that's part of this casting in the tie rod end. There's definitely a big difference between JL and JK drive shafts, and because of the amount of articulation that comes in this kit, Metal Cloak highly recommends a new front drive shaft. If you're never going four-wheeling, you can probably get away without replacing that front drive shaft, but if you're gonna wheel it at all, the joint there that's close to the transfer case does not take much misalignment angle, and you will smoke that joint without a doubt. There is one little change that happens in the back, and it has to do with the rear sway bar. In the JL, we actually flip that sway bar around. In the JK, you can use it in the factory position. So it's cool to have two different Jeeps, a JL and a JK, both in the shop, one getting a game changer and one getting a dual rate kit, because there are a lot of similarities and there are a lot of differences. Let's get this thing wrapped up and we can talk about the alignment when we're all done. One thing that we do every time we have a Metal Cloak equipped Jeep in the shop for a suspension install is we're going to bring it out into the parking lot, and with our forklift we measure the suspension articulation and we dial in exactly where we set bump stops. The Metal Cloak kits come with adjustable bump stops, so depending on what flare combination you have and what size tire you have, the bump stops can be entirely different between Jeeps. Metal Cloak uses stackable bump stops in the front and stackable ones in the rear. In this JL, you can see that we've got two bump stops stacked here. And from our testing, we determined that we're gonna add one more bump stop just because this tire is getting way too close inside the fender here and rubbing. So we definitely don't want the tire rubbing the body whatsoever. And because of that, we're gonna add 1 inch of bump stop to the front of this JL. We've got the JL on the alignment rack, and Eric is doing a great job getting it dialed in. Of course, we had to make some adjustments to the track bars and control arms to get those axles exactly where we want them to be and to get the alignment specs dialed in perfectly. It's one of the things that we really like when we work with Metal Cloak here in the shop every single day. The adjustable arms make it perfect to get the alignment specs exactly where we need them. As you can see, we're getting him dialed in here, although he's not quite done yet. But everything's in the green. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot about your JL or JK suspension, what it takes to get perfect alignments in the shop here every single day. If you like content like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Also follow us all over the internet, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for cool stuff like this here in the shop every single day. Thanks for watching this one. See you on the next one.